Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia and I am a wedding photographer based in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and your host. We're still celebrating birthday week if you're listening to this right when it comes out, and I've been releasing multiple episodes. Another really great one for you today. And just a reminder to jump over to our Instagram and enter the giveaways that are running for the next couple of weeks. On this episode, I'm chatting to Bex. I really loved this chat with her, hearing about her love story, how her and her partner started as distant friends, running in the same kind of circles, and then brought together at the right time. How they started their beautiful family and had a gender reveal turned proposal. What the whole wedding planning process was like, how they really wanted to prioritize just having an epic party with all their family and friends. Bex chats about being a really confident and extroverted person, but also struggling with social anxiety and what that felt like leading up to the day, having this looming sense of dread and that fear of being watched and judged and the center of attention, which is hard to avoid being a bride, but I think it was just so relatable what she shared. And I know a lot of you who have felt the same. We chat through her whole experience, dress shopping, and how tricky it is to try things on when they don't necessarily have your size, and going somewhere that does have a big range of sizes, you can try on things that you fit, and how nice that experience was. We talk about how she didn't plan a first look, but she maybe would have in hindsight, and reflecting back on her timeline and what worked and what could have been a little bit different. Some fun, unique things they did on their day and what made it really them. Their chilled out family honeymoon, how useful social media is, but there comes a time where you need to stop. And some really great advice on dealing with the post-wedding blues. I'm so grateful to Bex for being so open, and yeah, this was just a really lovely chat. So enjoy episode 53 with Bex. Hi Bex, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me today. So excited to chat all about your wedding.
Thank you so much. I've listened to you for a while now, so I'm excited to be talking about my own.
So good. So to get started with, if you could just tell me a bit about you and your partner, how you guys met, and yeah, your life together.
Yeah, so Millen and I officially met about 12 years ago. We've been together for 6, so we were part of an extended friendship circle, but timing never really worked out. I didn't live in Auckland, or he was traveling, and to be honest, I just never really looked at him like that. Like, he was always just one of the lads in the group that I hung out with loosely. And then, yeah, about 6 years ago, we went to a friend's dinner, and he turned up actually extremely hungover, and I just thought, for the first time, I looked at him and thought, oh, you're a bit of all right. And so we talked on Snapchat, old school, for about 6 months, and then eventually went on our couple of first, dates and parties and whatnot together. Kept it relatively hush hush for about 3 months, and then we decided, yep, we're going to give it a go, and haven't looked back. So we live in West Auckland, and we've got a dog, a cat, and a toddler.
Sounds busy. Love that. And so you were together for quite a while, and then can you tell me a bit about your proposal story, how that all went down?
Yeah, so I, from about a year in, I was, ready for any moment. I have always had, a dream of settling down with a family and finding Mr. Right. And about 3 months into dating Millen, I knew that he was the one that I wanted to settle down with. And I was very vocal about that, and dropping hints and sending sort of designs of rings that I like. And he had a plan in his head. We went to Europe. We did a bit of traveling together, traveled around New Zealand a lot. And then he wanted to, sort of get the house and have everything in order before we got engaged. And then we found out that we were expecting Nico, our little boy. And we had planned that. We had started trying, because I sort of gave up on this idea of a wedding anytime soon. So I thought, well, I want a baby, so let's focus on that. And at our 20-week scan, we took a little piece of paper away that said, obviously at the time we didn't know, but little boy, and had a gender reveal party with just our immediate family. So just my parents, his parents, siblings, and then my brother lives in Scotland. So we had him and his wife on a video call, and one of my best friends from London on a video call as well. And we popped the blue poppers, and I started jumping up and down. And then I saw Millen like on the ground, and I said to him, like, what are you doing? Because I thought he was trying to brush off the blue chalk powder that had come out off the ground. And I was like, we've just found out we're having a little boy, like, get up, hug me. And then I noticed his niece handing him something, and I looked down and I realized that he was proposing. The reason that he did that was I always said to him, you will never ever catch me out. We could be cooking dinner in the kitchen and I will be ready for a proposal. But the type of person he is, we're very different. He's very introverted, I'm very extroverted, and I just never ever thought he would do it in front of our family and, you know, a couple of close friends. So that's exactly why he did that. And yeah, I was shocked. I had no idea. Someone actually said to me the week of it at work, do you think Millen's going to propose to you? And I said, no way. He would never, ever do that in front of my friends and family. And so that's exactly why he did it. And it was perfect.
Oh, I love that. Managed to get the surprise factor then, and that's cool to be able to celebrate with everyone right there and then.
Totally.
And had you always been one of those people that had a certain vision in mind for your wedding, what you wanted for the vibe and style? And yeah, what were those kind of first steps, finding a venue, all of that?
Yes, I've always wanted the big white wedding. I've always thought of myself as, you know, a bride in a beautiful white dress. And yeah, just I've always wanted a big party to celebrate with the person I love, with all of the people that we love. And so it was a no-brainer. Like, I even said on the day that he proposed, I looked in my calendar. I knew that I wanted to give us that space to be a new family. I was only 20 weeks pregnant at the time. And so I thought 16th of March 2024, and that's actually the date that we ended up going with as well. I threw it out there on the day and everyone was laughing like, oh goodness, she's already planning. But I was straight on Pinterest, straight into looking at what sort of vibe I wanted. And yeah, we already knew the venue because we had been out there a couple of times for drinks and nibbles, the hunting lodge out in Waimalku, and it was 10 minutes away from our house. We are big fans of West Auckland. It's a beautiful area. And yeah, we sort of already knew that when we went out there that one time. Millen said to me this would be a really nice spot as our wedding venue one day, and I said, oh yes, absolutely. Like, it was kind of the whole point of why I took him out there that day anyway. So he was playing right into my hands there. And yeah, we knew straight away. So I pretty much immediately got to work on booking that venue, which I think they even laughed at me a little bit because it was 2 years out at the time. But I just wanted, you know, confirmation. And then I think the second vendor I booked after that was Sam Heartmaker, because I also knew that I really wanted Sam to be my makeup artist. So
she's amazing, and Hunting Lodge is so good, such a beautiful venue, and yeah, just really nice. So many options on site that you don't have to go away if you don't want to, for photos and all of that. So
yeah, we stayed on site for the entire time. I sort of had this vision of going to the Riverhead Forest, but when you start breaking down into a timeline and whatnot, it's actually, there are things that are just not realistic on a tight timeline for a wedding day. So we decided to forego that to spend more time with the guests. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue, and it really allows a lot of creativity for how you want to dress it, because it is pretty much a black and white canvas with lots of beautiful greenery. So you can do, you know, what you want in terms of styling.
Yeah, so stunning. And I know they cut down a lot of the forest in the last few wedding seasons. Showed out there a lot with, lots of beautiful venues out that way. So yeah, it's nice to just have everything in one place, and Hunting Lodge is beautiful. And did you have what were like the most important elements for you on the day? You already mentioned Sam, but yeah, any kind of top priorities in terms of dress, food, vibe? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was we wanted like a massive party with all of our friends and family. So we knew that music had to be good, the drinks had to be flowing. And then for me, my own personal top priority has always been the dress. Like I said, I almost envy brides that aren't really too worried about that, because I had a specific idea in my mind and I was actually really nervous about it as well, because I fit anywhere between a size 14 to a size 18. I've got a really big chest. I'm postpartum. So naturally, I was just thinking this is going to be awful, because I knew all the sort of sample sizes was going to be like, this is what it will look like in your correct size. But thankfully, it turned out really different to that, which is great. Um, and then, yeah, music, just like the whole party vibe was really what we wanted. We wanted the ceremony to be fun. I guess in terms of priority, if we had to list three, it was probably venue, food, and music. So pretty typical to what people would usually prioritize for a wedding. But yeah, those were the three main things for us.
So good. And yeah, can you tell us a bit about that process, finding your dress, getting it made, yeah, your wedding outfits?
Yeah, so I had Nico, my son, in August. And like I've said, I was a very eager bride. This was still over a year out until we tied the knot. But because I was so nervous and apprehensive about how my dress shopping would go, I wanted to get a head start on it, I guess. I actually went to one bridal store and had a really good experience. But they were all sample size dresses. So, from the front, I've got all these beautiful photos of me wearing the sample dresses. But then if you look really closely at the photo, you can see one of my bridesmaids like cinching in with all her might, hiding behind me to give, I guess, the illusion of what it could look like. But then when you start looking at that, that's what you fixate on. And someone cinching in physically is very different to how a dress naturally sits on you when it fits properly. And in my opinion, my favorite and best feature on me is sort of my small waist. It goes in quite nicely, and so I knew I wanted to accentuate that. In terms of style, I had every style possible on Pinterest. I had about 50 different dresses saved, so I wasn't attached to a style. I just knew I wanted it to sort of come in and really show off and accentuate my waist. Being bigger busted, I knew that was something that was really important to me. I didn't want it to look like it was just like hanging off me. And so then I found a dress that I really liked. I was like, this is the one. I know it's a sample size. I know it will look different, but it's beautiful. I can't remember the brand name. It's Australian, and it starts with K. It's like Kaya or Kaya.
Kaya,
Um,
yeah.
Kaya. It was
Mm.
beautiful. It was a one-armed sort of A-line dress, little sweetheart cut bust. And then one of my bridesmaids said, Bex, I really want to take you to Hera. I think you deserve to try on a bunch of dresses that already fit you. Let's just do it for the experience, because how often do you get to try on wedding dresses? She pulled a few strings and actually got us in within an hour, which is typically unheard of, but she did get her wedding dress there, and she sort of might have name dropped. And so we headed up there, and I proceeded to try on 6 or 7 gowns that fit me beautifully. And yeah, I put one of the dresses on. It's called La Belle V2, and it just, yeah, I just looked in the mirror and thought, I think if I would have walked down the aisle tomorrow in this, I would feel comfortable. I feel sexy and elegant, and those were two of the big things that I wanted. I wanted it to be timeless, but also with a bit of sass, because I would say that I've got a sexy little sassy side to me. So I really wanted that to come out in the dress. And it just, yeah, it was perfect. So went away that day and thought about it. I didn't need to. And then the next week I went in and said, yeah, I want to. say yes to the dress. So I did.
Oh, nice. Here is so beautiful. Got so many stunning dresses there. But yeah, it's always interesting to just hear about that process, and a lot of brides are surprised with what they actually end up with. So yeah.
Yeah, they are. And I didn't think A line would be the way that I would go, but it was, yeah, the split, it had a big split, and that's what did it for me. And the staff were honestly incredible. Like my stylist was amazing. She was with me every step of the way across about 4 sessions. The seamstress was incredible. Like I put the dress on um when I met my dress for the first time, the one that had been made and altered for me. And I was like, yeah, it's perfect. And she was like, oh, no, just, very fine little details that to the naked eye, I don't think anyone would pick up, but they're just so experienced and they know exactly how the dress should be sitting on the body. And yeah, it was perfection.
So nice to wear something that's just perfectly tailored
Mm-hmm.
to you. And did you have a bridal party? And if so, how was that process choosing them? Did you find that quite easy?
Yeah, so we had a bridal party. Millen has 3 brothers, and he knew that he wanted all 3 in there. And then he didn't want to stop there. He wanted his 2 best friends to be a part of it as well. And so that sort of defined our number from the get go. There was not that there was no wriggle room, but it was kind of like go 3 or go 5. And I based my choosing very much on the present and where my relationships are at right now. I think when you're making the decision on your bridal party, it's really easy to get caught up on this person's been in my life for X amount of years. I feel, I should have them in there. Or, yeah, I had a really great mix of young childhood friends through to my closest best friend at work. And yeah, I based it solely on what do they do in what role do they play in my life right now, and regardless of where life might take us over the next few years, which I hope is together, obviously, it didn't matter because right now they are, yeah, just my core group of girls that I can turn to any time of day and they'll be there. And I also knew that they would absolutely bring the vibes on the day. And I guess going back to what vibe we wanted, it was very much party, happy, light. And they did just that. They were the best bridal party I could have imagined. They nailed my hens do, and just, yeah, everything about my wedding day from the moment I woke up was perfect. And I say it's largely thanks to them because they just made sure that the vibes were on.
So good. Yeah, that's some important things to think about. And yeah, not necessarily just base it on like how many years you've known someone. I think, yeah, their role in your life in the present, and then like, yeah, what the vibe they're going to bring on the day. That's so good. And how about your guest list? Did you find that quite hard to narrow down?
Was so hard, so hard. I think our first guest list finished at 150. We've got huge families, and there were definitely some family politics around that. It was not brought to me directly, but I've heard whispers through the families, as you do. They think that it's not going to get back to you, about people being disappointed that they weren't invited. But ultimately, we went with the old rule of would you take them out to dinner and spend this much money on them at dinner in a restaurant? And if the answer was no, then unfortunately they didn't make the list. We had to go through again, and we eventually got it down to 119, which was didn't sit well with me at all. 119. I was like, why not an even 120? But it was 119 including ourselves. And yeah, we were really happy with the guest list. I think I may have even heard it on this podcast. A really good rule to apply as well is, do they tick 2 of the 3 boxes, past, present, and future? And so we sort of did that as well. Like, they've been in our past, but they're definitely present to us right now, or they're recently present to us, but they're definitely going to be in our future, or whatever, past and they've come back in, or yeah, whatever that looked like. That's sort of how we did it. And looking around the room on the wedding day, I was really, really happy with everyone that was in that room celebrating with us. So it was also quite a big deal for me because I suffer really badly from social anxiety, which makes no sense. I've said for years it makes no sense because I'm a really extroverted, out there, outgoing person. And my personality type points in every direction of being confident and, not caring about presenting myself to a bunch of people, for lack of a better word. But the way I described it is I had a genuine fear about organized steering, walking down this aisle and everyone officially standing up and looking at me. And it honestly just made me feel sick inside. It kept me up at night. Organizing the event was no pressure whatsoever in my mind. I have an event organization background, event management. So that part excited me. It was this, am I going to go bright red on the day? Is my chest going to go all blotchy? That's something that, has happened to me in the past when I've felt not uneasy, but watched and, judged. And so a big part of that sort of final piece around the guest list and making that final number was definitely like, do I feel comfortable around these people? And are they going to make me feel at ease on my wedding day rather than, oh God, are they judging my dress, or do they hate the food? That's the last thing you want to be worrying about. They should be there because they want to celebrate you and just be there. So yeah, that had a heavy influence on how we made the decision around guests.
Oh, I think so many people will relate to that. And like, you can't help it. You are going to be the center of attention on the day, probably. So, yeah, I think that's so important. Just really thinking about those guests that love you and support you. And yeah, that's who you want surrounding you for sure.
It's so funny, isn't it, to think that you want a big white wedding, but you hate the idea of being the center of attention. I couldn't explain it to anyone. I just knew I wanted it, knew I wanted to celebrate with our big family and families and friends. Just wish that I could have skipped to the I do and walking back down, But luckily that was what I was thinking in my head, as anxiety usually goes, was a complete different scenario on the actual day when it was happening. So
Yeah, I think that's the thing with anxiety or any anxious feelings. Like, it doesn't make sense, or you can't explain it sometimes, or yeah, it's the people that you think would like be the least likely to experience that do, and yeah, just doesn't make sense
no.
sometimes. But I think so relatable to many people. So can you tell us a bit about the big day, how it all went down, and yeah, any highlights or favorite moments?
It was just the best day. We were in the lead up to it, and because I've listened to a lot of your episodes, I'm well aware that weather is really anxiety inducing, and it can almost make or break the day depending on the venue. Ours was very much designed to be this sunny. We were relying heavily on having an outside ceremony. The day before, when we had the rehearsal, it was raining. For some reason, 2 days out, my nerves started really not disappearing, but lessening, and it became more excitement than nerves. So thankfully, I wasn't too stressed out about it. My husband actually told me afterwards that he was really nervous about it because he was saying to me all week, "It's going to be fine, don't worry." But he was looking at the weather report as well, thinking it's not going to be fine. It's going to be raining, and we're all going to be stuck under this. 120 guests are going to be stuck under a small shelter. It's not small, it's a good space, but we had a great backup option, but we didn't want to use it. It was not going to be the same as in front of these beautiful barn doors with white chip stone and trees surrounding us. So I woke up the girls at, I think I let them sleep till 6:30. As a mum, that's a sleep in for me anyway. I was like, yep, it's time to get them up. I had seen a meme on Instagram. I'm so lame, of Steve Carell holding up a boombox playing Everybody Dance Now. And so I turned that on my phone and I just started walking around this pitch black house that we'd stayed in the night before, playing this music and telling everyone to get up. And they all sort of laughed at me and rolled over and said, "It's midnight, go back to sleep." I was like, "No, there's no way I'm going back to sleep." And then yeah, so we stayed at this beautiful accommodation Airbnb spot for the day of getting ready. It was called the Stables, and it was about an 8-minute drive from the wedding venue. So that was also a big part for me, is not too much driving time to sit there and fret. And the girls made me breakfast. It's like a farmhouse stay. They had the windows open. The weather was gorgeous. There was a couple of clouds in the sky. It was a little bit cooler, which I loved, because another thing that really made me nervous was the heat and wearing this big dress. And it was nice and cool. It didn't feel muggy at all. I'm a sweater, so I was very conscious about the heat. Um, and yeah, I ate eggs and had an orange juice. There was a fruit platter. The Stables outdid themselves in terms of those hosting responsibilities with Airbnb, and it was perfect. And then hair and makeup arrived, and we got straight into it. My mum was there, my mother-in-law was there. She's a mum to 3 boys, and it was quite important for me to include her in the day, because well, A, I'm very close to her, and B, she doesn't have a daughter to do this with, so I really wanted her to feel like she was all a part of the process. She went wedding dress shopping with me, and she was a part of seeing the venue, and yeah, we tried to involve her on that journey as much as possible. And yeah, the drinks were flowing. We had a platter. We were playing music, and then all of a sudden, before I knew it, it was time to go. I had a first look with Dad. He's a bit like me, quite emotional, and so he got all teary. We had a shot of tequila because I was very nervous at that point. And then we got in the cars. We had two vintage cars. One was my dad's. And it used to be my Popper's, so that was quite important to me to go in the Jag to the wedding. Everyone was going to see us pull up. There was no big reveal when we got there. Something that I sort of put in to play, knowing it would help my anxious, feeling, was no big reveal where I pop out of nowhere and I'm walking down and all eyes are on me. Yuck, ugh, makes me feel sick. So I thought, if the cars can just pull up and we can casually get out, then everyone sees me. There's no big reveal. Millen, I didn't really mind about this first sort of glance as such to cue emotion. I knew realistically he's not a big crier, so he probably wasn't going to cry anyway. And yeah, me and Dad walked down the aisle, and me being me, I sort of just yelled out, "I'm here," to everyone, which, who does that? Like, this is the one moment where you can be an elegant lady, and instead I was like, "I'm here."
Love it.
And yeah, we walked down the aisle and said I do, and it was a light, fun ceremony. We surprised our two nanas to be the witnesses of the ceremony, which they loved, and that kind of sparked a bit of emotion from all of our family members as well. And then yeah, had a champagne tower, went and got photos. The day was still stunning. We actually got something a bit different that we did. We did a champagne tower, but something a bit different was, we are a family full of golfers, and so we got a putting green sort of installed, I guess you could say, from to be positioned on the back lawn, where there were already other lawn games, and apparently that went off. I didn't actually see it for the entire day because I went and got photos, but people were playing there, and yeah, it was just a really beautiful day. The speeches were incredible. We had got dance lessons, but in typical Rebekah and Millen fashion, we got about a quarter of the way into the dance. One of us stuffed up one of the moves, and then we were just laughing and spinning around the dance floor, not really knowing what we were doing, until we eventually just told everyone to come in as well. But that was quite a cool moment. What else can I tell you? We had golf carts for to take us to the vines and get photos. Something I did want to mention was the photography is usually a big one for most people, and it was big for us. So was videography, but we did not. Millen doesn't do staged photos very well, so we didn't really want staged photos. We wanted them to be really candid, really natural, and so we actually went with two of our friends that have just started their side business, Keep It Creative, Ricky and Michaela, and they were fantastic. Like, Michaela was snapping away all day. Ricky had a drone. He was just shooting, little snippets throughout the entire day, and the end results for both the photos and the video is just stunning. Like, I'm really, really happy with the images that we got back, and we didn't want to spend heaps of time doing group shots. Okay, stand here, do this. It was very just natural. Yeah, I loved the photography and video part. We even had the bridal party say afterwards that usually when you go off on a bridal party, it can get a little bit punishing standing around waiting for photos, and they just said that it was really great. The hunting lodge did a really good job at supplying us with nibbles, so we didn't miss out on the first part of the food. And yeah, we had bubbles and beers, and it was just really fun. And no one wanted the dance floor to be over. We had General Lee do our DJing. I work at MediaWorks, so I reached out to a lot of vendors within MediaWorks, which was quite handy. And yeah, the lights came on and people weren't ready to go home, which I put a big tick box next to wedding day achieved, because that's all we wanted, was just a big party, and that's definitely what we got. So yeah, it was thankfully a really, really great day. And things that went wrong, or went wrong in quotation marks, weren't really things worth worrying about. We had a decal for the white wall, and it said Mr. and Mrs. Jujnovich. It didn't stick to the wood, unfortunately. They had the printing company had the material that it was going against, but for whatever reason, it didn't stick on the day. And I just thought, doesn't matter, let it go. Oh, we had KFC vouchers. So Millen and I are really big KFC lovers, me more so than him. And I wanted to do KFC vouchers. So I reached out to KFC, and they said that they didn't currently do vouchers. So I went on to Canva, and I got a little photo of the Colonel and the KFC logo, and I made up a voucher, and it was the hangover, one times hangover pack, and it was just a $10 note attached to the voucher. And that was a really funny moment, because we just attached it under random cheers. We gave away 5. So, not a high expense, but something that definitely uniquely screamed Millen and Rebekah. And the MC, our friend Guy, he did a really good job of getting everyone to look under their seats and then wave it up in the air if they won one. Yeah, just so many cute little moments like that really made the day. Those are the things that I really remember well. Remember just looking around thinking, this is so amazing. Napkins flying when we entered the reception. Yeah, just the best day with the best vibes. It was so, so good.
Incredible. Sounds like such an amazing day. And I love all those little details that are just like you as a couple. And yeah, not that anyone has to copy or you got from anywhere. It's just like what is what you like represents you guys. Some amazing advice in there. And yeah, what did you find the hardest about the whole wedding planning process? And yeah, is there anything you look back on and regret or do a little bit differently?
The hardest thing for me was definitely the sort of social anxiety build up. It got worse and worse as the wedding was approaching. I had to talk to Millen about it quite frequently, because I was just so nervous. The whole social anxiety thing definitely took over my brain. Looking back, I wish you like anxiety plays out typically anyway. I wish you could just actually take your own advice and say, it's going to be fine. It's a bunch of people that love you. Instead, I hyper fixated on it. But the minute that I walked down the aisle and said that stupid thing out loud, all nerves disappeared. And then even more so when I saw Millen. So I guess my biggest regret is focusing so much on how people would look at me and judge me. And I have a genuine fear of humiliation. So I was really worried I'd fall over, or something would pop out or something would happen. But everyone had my back, and yeah, that ended up being a silly thing. But I had to validate it at the time and tell myself it was okay to feel nervous. In terms of the timeline, I wish I'd either started the wedding earlier, an hour earlier, or I had done a first look instead. So Millen really wanted to see me for the first time walking down the aisle, not for emotion reasons. I guess that was kind of his traditional part that he really wanted in the wedding. So that's what we went with. I was neither here nor there. But now looking back, we, you go away for an hour and a half for photos, including all the family photos. That's what we tried to stick to, was an hour and a half. It was tight. Like, I wish that I got to see people and do the rounds then. So coming from like two quite traditional people, because I've always wanted the traditional white wedding, I would say don't be afraid to do a first look. I don't think it would have made anything different. I mean, again, I can't comment from experience because we didn't do that, but if soaking it in and really like prioritizing time with your family and friends is big for you, then yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to bring either the day forward or do a first look. Probably would be, yeah, the one thing that I consider changing. But again, with the bridal party, it was really fun stepping away for photos. It's not like we didn't have fun there. Every bride probably wakes up the day after their wedding and thinks, crap, I didn't like get a really good conversation in with this group, or I didn't get to do more than just a hi bye with these people. So that's maybe the one thing I'd consider changing in the future. If we got the chance to do it again. Not in the future, there will be no second wedding.
Love that. Yeah, I think that's definitely one to think about for people. And yeah, a lot of people still want that like traditional seeing each other first time down the aisle, but yeah, it can really help the timeline of the whole day if you've already got the photos out of the way, and then yeah, you do just get to spend more time with your guests and not leave them for so long, get in all those good chats, because it is hard to get around everybody.
Do you get a lot of couples that do first looks instead of photos after?
Yeah, it's more and more common. It's I try to advise people on their timelines, and then I'm also thinking about when the light is good as well, because it's not necessarily nice to shoot at like midday and blaring sun. It's just really like harsh light and shadows on your faces and stuff, which you can always make it work finding shade or somewhere that looks good anyway. So yeah, definitely talk to your photographer about that if you're thinking about it. Or more and more, I'm also seeing they've planned their day maybe with the ceremony a bit earlier, and then staying with their guests for like an hour, 2 hours of canapes, cocktails, and then going away for photos for like an hour before returning and coming into the reception. So yeah, I think that's a nice idea if you can plan it that way and the light's a bit better. And yeah, you can always sneak out for sunset photos as well, just the two of you. It's
We
nice
did
to
that.
do.
Yeah, we did that. It wasn't necessarily like a beautiful sunset moment, but it was really nice lighting at the time. And so we had a couple more photos that we wanted next to the restaurant at the hunting lodge. It's this beautiful white villa, and so we went over there, and it was really nice. That was kind of our step away moment, that everyone advises you do, and so that was a really nice moment for us as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a good moment to just go alone. I mean, you'll be photographed, but you can have that moment together. They'll leave you to it a little bit. Yeah, so good one to think about too.
Yeah.
And did you guys have a wedding budget? If you're happy to talk about even like a ballpark figure of what you spent, and yeah, how did you find that whole process? Were you surprised how much weddings cost?
No, because I've been in event management, and I have planned weddings before through work. So it wasn't my money; it was much more fun to spend. But yeah, I sort of thought in our head we would be 45 to 50. It wasn't that's what we could realistically achieve as such. It was just we knew that for the wedding we wanted, that was what it was going to sit at the absolute minimum. Like most weddings, and I say most because it's definitely not all. Some brides are fantastic with budgets and will stick to it. But it ended up being around 55 for us. And that was, there were a few big contributing factors, but I would say doing it at a venue like the Hunting Lodge is always going to come with minimum costs and, or minimum spends, I should say. And I don't know, it starts with the dress and then the venue, and then all of a sudden you're having a really expensive wedding. I wouldn't do it any other way though. I look at that bill fondly. I know that some people look back and think, ugh. But for me, it was very much that was the price we paid for a really epic day together, with our son and with our family and friends. So yeah, lots
Yeah,
of money.
nice. Yeah, it is a lot, but it's a pretty average spend these days and like quite reasonable for that amount of guests in that venue, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good for people to hear just what is realistic. And did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? What did planning that look like?
Yeah, we went to Clyde and Central Otago. So we did Queenstown, Clyde, Alex, and Cromwell, and we were very lucky. We've got a family member that has a house down in Clyde, so we sort of positioned ourselves in Clyde. We took Nico with us, and we went to Queenstown for a really nice bougie night. And it worked out quite well that our hotel room was right next to the bar. We stayed at Carmana Lake House, or yeah, that's what it's called. And they have a beautiful restaurant with a beautiful setting overlooking the lake. So we went there for one really nice night, and then back to Clyde, and yeah, went to Cromwell, went to a couple of wineries. We ended up Googling family friendly wineries, and we found this really beautiful spot that had a gorgeous playhouse and sandbox and everything that Nico needed to stay amused for a couple of hours. So that was perfect. Yeah, it was more a family holiday than a honeymoon. I guess during the planning process of the wedding, we kind of tossed up Gold Coast or, go to one of the islands. Millen has a small amount of Jamaican in him. So he was like, let's go to Jamaica. And I just said, honey, we are spending so much money on this wedding. Realistically, it's a trip down south. And that's nothing to sort of poo-poo anyway. Like the South Island is one of the most beautiful spots in the world, in my opinion. It's a place that we've been to a few times now. Millen had never been to Clyde. Nico's never been to the South Island. So it was a really nice chilled out time, and we went immediately after. I wanted to sort of keep riding that high because I knew wedding blues would be a thing. I knew my personality type was, you're going to get hard with the wedding come down or the wedding hangover. And yeah, I just wanted to just go and be with Millen and Nico and be a little family after all of the chaos. Something to just touch on quickly is we didn't see Nico a lot throughout the day. We got some really beautiful photos with him. That was a non-negotiable key thing for us to do. But then after that, he was, with his grandparents, with his cousin, with his aunties and uncles, and they all came to the party in such a great way, because you're so busy as a bride and groom on your wedding day without it feeling super busy, but you're just here, there, and everywhere, right? And so, yeah, our family did such a great job of taking care of Nico, but I missed him. Like the morning we woke up, where we'd stayed the night of the wedding, Millen sort of looked over at me and said, should we get up? Should we go and see Nico? And, that's how I knew we needed some serious family time. And it was a really nice way to digest what had just happened and have a bit of fun together.
Yeah, oh, that's so nice to do it, just the three of you. And yeah, we are very lucky in New Zealand to have some beautiful places to come visit. My sister lives down in Central Otago, so I've spent a lot of time down there, and Clyde's such a cute little town, and
So
lots
cute.
of places to explore. So
Yeah.
cool one to think about for people. If I know everyone loves going to Queenstown, which is amazing, but there's a lot beyond there to explore.
So much. We'd been to Queenstown like 3 times, I think, as a couple, and it is the go-to. It's the kind of place if you're going to the South Island. But it just so happened that our family members said, go to Clyde, like the house is yours if you want. And yeah, we took full advantage of it and had the fire going. Even though it felt like summery days, it was really cool cold nights. And it was just, yeah, Clyde is such a beautiful spot. I recommend everyone goes there. And it's easily accessible to things like Cromwell and, the drive there from Dunedin even. That's what we did, because the access to the family member's car was in Dunedin. So we took this gorgeous drive, and Millen got to see parts of Central Otago he'd never seen. It was, yeah, it was amazing.
And were there any helpful like websites, apps, different resources that you used during the planning process? You already mentioned you had a few kind of industry connections, but yeah, was there anything else that helped you find vendors or yeah, all of that?
Yeah, I mean, because of where I work at MediaWorks, I was very lucky to have vendors that I knew well. It was a very personal wedding in terms of vendors. Like our music was General Lee, and I've worked with him on campaigns for multiple years. Millen has listened to George FM forever, and he loves General Lee, so that was actually his decision. The videography and photography, that was an easy choice as well. As I mentioned, hair and makeup, I kind of knew that I wanted Messy Bun and Sam Hart makeup from the get-go. They also did my best friend's wedding almost a year to the day before, and they did a great job. So I was really happy with the decision that I'd made around that. Instagram was my friend more than Pinterest in the end. I would say that I ended up looking up a lot, because you can find all your vendors on Instagram. It's a bit harder to do that on Pinterest. I definitely use Pinterest for the vibe, which I did a 180 on anyway, about 6 months out from the wedding. It was going to be all white, and then Millen sort of threw a curveball that he refused to wear black. And so he wanted forest green. He found these really nice suits just on ASOS, actually. From there, I thought, is white really us, or are we a little bit, do we want something brighter? And then ultimately I decided to go complete, 180, like I said, and we ended up with bright pinks and reds, which is, they're two beautiful colors that contrast really well together. Still timeless, but very on trend, the brighter florals at the moment. So yeah, we ended up pivoting there. But again, I found Petal and Leaf on Instagram. She had done friends' weddings before. So actually a really great research tool is just when you're my age, 32, you've had a lot of weddings that you've been to in the past, and you know what you loved about them. So you take sort of snippets of inspiration from there as well. And then this podcast actually really helped me a lot. The number one thing that I would say to the planning process is, when you're about 2 weeks out, just stop looking on, you somehow need to change your algorithm that you're being served, because 2 weeks before the wedding, it was just like, do this, or top 10 things I wish I'd done differently at my wedding. Have you thought about this for your guests? Party favors here, drinks there, and you could just never be done planning. That's something that I figured out in the lead up to the big day is, should I add, we did the KFC vouchers, and then I thought, should we add like a his and hers cocktail, more money? No, can't do that. It's just, at some point you have to say, this is the wedding that we've designed and planned, and now I'm going to stop looking, because you just get kind of FOMO around what you can't do last minute. So yeah, I used all of the things, Google Sheets, everything. I was a basic bride.
It's so good. They're popular resources for a reason though. Like yeah, Instagram's so helpful. And yeah, I love that piece of advice that there's so much amazing content and inspiration out there, which is so helpful. But then, yeah, get to a point, or like decide when that's going to be, that you just stop, you back your decisions, embrace
Yes.
it, and yeah, go with what you've planned. Stick to your guns, because otherwise, yeah, you can get so overwhelmed, and there's so many different ways you can do things. So great advice. You've given so much already, but yeah, is there any other advice that you would give to couples planning their wedding at the moment?
Not planning, but on the day, eat the food. It's so easy to miss this beautifully curated menu that you've spent, a lot of time mulling over as a couple, deciding what sort of food you want. I think I had the entree. I ate about 3 potatoes from the mains, and then the cake we didn't touch until the next day. We actually opted out of having a dessert, because we're not huge dessert people, and we thought the cake and some cookies, personalized cookies, was more than enough. So that's what we did. yeah, I wrote a few things down, because my three sort of things was eat the food, get a video done if it's within your budget, and for me, the video is just something I will never ever regret. Like looking back on that, just captures something that photos are beautiful, still memories, but it really captures the emotion. I think in a different way. So, and the music playing underneath it just sort of recreates that whole vibe of the day again. And don't send out invites until you have to, because things change. And even though we were 100% happy with our guest list, probably could have benefit from just holding off for another 6 months before sending out the save the day. I was too eager. Like I've said, I was a really excited planning, bride to be, and things change in your life. Nothing dramatic for us, but just situations change and how close you are with some people. You'd be amazed at how obvious it is that those friendships and relationships develop even just in the space of a year. So if you're planning well in advance, don't be too eager on the invite front. Just sit with it for a while and make sure. Our wedding just could have been smaller, I think, but really happy with everyone that was there. It didn't have to be at 120.
Oh, so good. That's some amazing advice. And yeah, great if you're having a little bit longer engagement and yeah, you don't have to send it out like 2 years in advance or
Yeah.
whatever. And what is married life like now? Do you feel like you did get those post-wedding blues?
Yeah, married life's great. We've been together for 6 years already, so it's not that like anything changes. It's just I don't know. It might be the traditional part in me, but I feel like we're just more of a team. We have Nico together and in a house and a dog and a cat, so nothing was going to drastically change. But yeah, for some reason, there just feels like this real unity in the decisions that we're making, currently landscaping decisions. And we both landed on the same sort of outcome yesterday when we were doing the gardening. And that sounds so lame, but it's something as simple as being aligned in decision making. Yeah, and you just feel like a real team. Wedding blues, post wedding blues, massive, massive thing for me. Probably didn't acknowledge it until about a week after the wedding, and I was just feeling really, really flat, and I thought that I'd be really happy that the planning was done, the day had been and gone, and we could just get on with life. Because as I touched on, my whole anxiety of walking down the aisle and just getting it done, I just was really focused on being married to Millen. And as much as I took in the day and really enjoyed the day, I just thought that I would be really happy once it was over. And instead, I was really sad. So was Millen. And we just said, best day ever. Wouldn't want to do it again. It's just a bizarre, conflicting feeling because you don't want to go and redo the wedding again. You wouldn't change anything drastic, but you're just left with this kind of what now feeling. I'm a project person. So I just thought, this has been my entire personality for 2 years. What do I do now? Everyone at work, everyone in my friendship circle knew, Beck's the bride to be. She was planning a wedding. She's doing this and doing that around the wedding. Every conversation that you have with people somehow circled back to they're excited for their outfit for the wedding, or, just whatever it was. It was always wedding related in my head. And I really struggled with that afterwards. And I actually just probably about a week ago again, we got married just over a month ago, 6 weeks ago. And it was about a week ago that I started feeling like, cool, this is married life now. I don't feel sad that it's over anymore. I just feel happy and ready to get on with the next stage of life together. But allow yourself that emotion would be my thing to future brides. Don't try and push it away, which is what I probably did in the first few days. I was really tired. We were, down in central Otago, and we're having a really nice time, but there was this sort of underlying flat, kind of, damn it, it's over feeling. Um, just just lean into it. And that's kind of the thing I say about every emotion I feel is just lean into it, let it be, and then move on. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's so understandable when it's your focus for so long and this big build up and then it's suddenly all over. So yeah, don't worry if it takes you a while to process that and kind of like come down and get back into the swing of reality and normal life. I think, yeah, that's
Yeah.
such a normal thing to experience.
There are nice things that keep coming through that allow you to relive those moments anyway. Like the photos coming through, that was a big moment for us. We sat down and went through them all. The video coming through, Nico sat and watched, all 6 minutes of it with us. And yeah, we'll have anniversaries and you just like find something else to look forward to. And again, right now, as lame as it sounds, it's my garden. So it's just, being happy that it happened and being very thankful that we were in a position to make it happen. I'm very aware of how lucky we are that we got that day. And in particular me, because it's something I've always dreamed of. And Millen's expectations were sort of, here, but mine were definitely up there. So I just try and look at that and think expectations exceeded, best day ever, got my husband.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, hey? And so
Yeah,
nice to have
totally.
all those, special memories from it as well. Amazing. It's been so lovely to chat to you. Is there anything else you want to add as we wrap up?
I don't think so. I just don't forget why you're doing it. It's such a great day. It goes so fast, but just remember it's just the two of you ultimately making this commitment to one another. And yeah, it's something that you'll cherish forever. So look forward to it would be my thing. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really nice to sort of go over it again and list it all out and remember how epic it was.
Oh, amazing. You've been so great. I know everyone's going to get a lot out of this episode. So thank you for coming on.